All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, wherever you are in the United States or world. I thank you all for joining in today. Today, we are joined by a panel of professionals in the military engagement community. So we'll cover some topics on veterans, spouses, and caregivers, and how we can make organizations welcoming in the workplace. So the agenda for today is we have Dr. Kristen Sabo from Google, Robin Baker from Amazon, Angela Infante from Boeing, and Joe Wallace from Microsoft. We'll just have a discussion. After that, we'll have Q&A at the end, and then announcements towards the end. So before we kick it off, I would like to do a warm introduction. So Dr. Sabo is the head employee and author of an employee at Google and author of Military Veteran Employment. We have Angela Infante, who is the Military and Veterans Program Lead at Boeing. Robin Baker, the Global Military Program Manager at Amazon. And then we have Joe Wallace, who is the Director of Military Engagement at Microsoft. With that, we can start with you, Dr. Sabo, if you wanted to give a little bit of a professional introduction and your affiliation to the military community.
Sure, thanks so much. It's good to see everyone here tonight, and we have such a delightful panel, so it's great to be part of that. My name is Kristen Sabo. I am an industrial organizational psychologist that looks at how we optimize performance in the workforce at a variety of levels, everything from at the individual level all the way up through organizational strategies and policies. To pull that thread further, I have been working for actually 2 decades, maybe more now, on veterans employment topics as an expert and also a strategist. And then in addition, I've done that in a variety of situations, both on the federal side as a research psychologist while active duty, and then also on the civilian side, having set up talent strategies previously at Boeing. So Angela and I got to work together during that period of time. And then also since at Google in terms of some of the work I do. I do work not just for veterans and the military connected community, but I also do work more broadly in terms of employee voice and people analytics. So that's a bit about me. And my affiliations. I'm also a military spouse. I'm a military Air Force brat as well. So I guess I check many of the boxes there. But I think more so I typically speak to this as an expert and then bringing in those personal accounts where relevant. So with that, I will pass it to my fellow panelists before we get into some really great questions.
Great, thank you. Robin, if you can give an introduction about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. My name's Robin. I lead global military talent acquisition enablement at Amazon, which is a very long way of saying I build programs and partnerships that enable recruiting teams across the company to engage with and hire from the military community, which just to set the standard, whenever I say that, I mean veteran, reserve guard, transitioning active duty spouses. Any component is what we consider the military community. I've been doing that for about 7 years. I served in the U.S. Army for 33 years. Please don't do the math. 23 of that was reserve and 10 was active. I was also a military spouse for a brief time before he decided to get out and become the military spouse and a military brat myself. So really happy to be here and contribute to the conversation. Another piece about me that sort of it just informs the lens through which I give answers is I was a Department of the Army civilian at Joint Base Lewis McChord, and I led the transition program right when the Department of Defense was updating everything and building SkillBridge. And so I came to Amazon with that lens, and that really informed a lot of the strategies I propose for Amazon. So happy to be here.
Great to have you. Thank you for that. Angela?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Angela Infante, and I am a military veteran, served in the Army National Guard, AGR, and I have over 18 years of expertise in talent acquisition, human resources, and diversity and inclusion. Currently, I am a lead for the Military Veterans Program here at Boeing, where I lead the development of military connected talent pipelines and innovative recruitment strategies to attract, hire, and retain military connected engineering talent. I've been with Boeing for 10 years. Prior to that, I worked in talent acquisition and human resources for different technical engineering and aerospace companies. Thanks again for having me. Looking forward to chatting with everyone.
Good deal. Thank you. Last but not least, Joe.
Thanks, Marco. It's nice to be on the panel today with everybody else. Yes, my name's Joe Wallace. I'm on the military affairs team at Microsoft. My role is military engagement, so I'm out marketing and speaking to all our programs at events and on panels like this. So thanks for having me today. I was a Marine Corps officer, 28 years, active in reserve. Been at Microsoft a little over 14 years, and the military affairs team. We manage primarily SkillBridge programs, and we support the military community across the board to find opportunities in the tech industry. And soon after I started at Microsoft, I drove on down to Joint Base with McCord, and Robin Baker was there running the transition program. So we go way back. Thanks for having me today.
Well, Semper Fi, it's a small world. It's great to have everybody here. So without further ado, I think we can go ahead and get into the meats and potatoes of the discussion. So I will go ahead and pass it over to you, Michelle.
Okay. And I'll just introduce myself really quick too. I'm Michelle Purvis, the CDU's Veteran and Military Engagement Officer. I just started here about 6 months ago, and so excited to have this opportunity. I'm also an Air Force veteran and a longtime Navy spouse. And got this great opportunity to work with City University after being out in Japan for the last 3 years. So definitely happy to be here. And I will kick off the questions with, what specific programs do each of your companies offer to support service members transitioning into civilian careers? And how do these programs help veterans develop their careers?
Maybe we can start off with Dr. Sabo and maintain the same order if we wanted to go down the list.
Sure, we can certainly do that. Yeah, so at Google, we have a wide variety of programs. We, of course, are active participants in SkillBridge, particularly using Hiring Our Heroes as our primary conduit through which we recruit and have participants. We have a lot of other exchange programs with the military. I know these programs are going to be repeated across all of us in terms of our participation with like our defense train with industry programs, things of that nature. And then within Google, of course, we have a very robust talent pipeline in terms of how we make sure people feel connected through our employee resource group, a wide variety of events and opportunities to engage with senior leaders through that. In addition, also connecting people in with just ways to advance their career by attending different developmental programs as well.
Guess I'm up next. So as Dr. Sabo mentioned, a lot of similarities. We work very closely with Hiring Your Heroes and host fellows, actually the 3 cohorts a year, but also we do off-cycle. We did register as a SkillBridge provider, so our military apprenticeship program can be leveraged by transitioning service members for the first 12 weeks. They can join in the SkillBridge status and then transition straight into paid apprenticeship. So we've got about 14 roles for the military community built out for the apprenticeship program. They're all in technical fields. We also host monthly webinars to engage with the military community. Of course, we go to all of the events. We have a military skills translator on our landing page of our job board where people can put in their experience, and it helps translate their skills and identify opportunities at Amazon that they're a good fit for. Once they join, we have a large affinity group as well, and about a 1-year program for new employees where there's curriculum that we've curated just from feedback and personal experiences to, address challenges people tend to face in that first year, and we assign them to a mentor as well to give an extra layer of support. And then, of course, through the affinity groups, they've got lots of opportunities to volunteer and just get together and have that support system around them. So those are the main programs that we have at Amazon.
I believe it's my turn. So at Boeing, we have a military veterans program that's split up into a business unit. So each business unit, Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Boeing Defense, Boeing Global Services, they each have a military veterans program team that supports them within all the different initiatives that we have. So our focus areas are sourcing and recruiting. And within that area, we focus on so building talent pipelines within the different business units and skills. We have an initiative called the Veteran Job Promise, where we post an evergreen requisition for transitioning veterans that can apply within a year of transitioning. And if they're qualified, or if we believe their skills are qualified for any of our regular positions or skills that we hire for, we give them a contingent offer letter. And they are guaranteed, or technically a promised position once they are ready to transition out of the military. And we've done that with supply chain, we've done that with engineering and other skills. We also have a monthly seminar where it helps us attract talent to the Boeing Company, veterans and military connected talent. But we also have a resume workshop. We do interview tips. We help them with different resources. We talk about our benefits, skill translators. We have a tool called Opline that I'm sure some of the other companies use as well. And then we have our internship. The other focus areas is the internships, and we do SkillBridge. We also have the Military Spouse Career Accelerator Program. Through Hiring Our Heroes, we started at this year, and we are working on creating a specific internship for manufacturing only. That's in our plan. For retention, we created a veteran onboarding program where we do specific onboarding for veterans. So in addition to their regular onboarding that every employee obtains, they have a specific orientation that we do every month for veterans that get hired, and it's more targeted to the benefits we offer that are beneficial for veterans, for questions about if they're reserves and they need to go on leave, things of that nature. Those are the big ones. I would say we obviously have our upskilling and initiatives, and then we also have a veteran and military spouse hiring preference, especially for like virtual jobs, and then our events that we do regularly across the country, across the enterprise.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. One thing that really stood out to me is the evergreen requisite positions that you said that are always posted. What positions are those for?
So we've done it with supply chain skills. So we post the requisition, and it is kind of generic, but it's a multi-level. So we ask for either 2 years of experience for a certain level, or 5 years of experience for like a mid-career, or higher experience for more senior level positions. And based on like supply chain backgrounds, that's the job description. And then as people apply, if they're qualified or if they meet that criteria, we look at the open positions, or we talk to the hiring managers within supply chain, and we schedule an interview. And then if they're qualified, we do the job promise offer letter, which is a contingent offer letter, saying we will give you a position once you transition out. And we've done it with people that are like 6 months out, 8 months out, as long as they meet all the contingencies of the job, which is like a background check and all that other good drug test and all that other good stuff. We also have done it with engineering, and I think they're looking to do it with some of our technician positions as well.
And for the preference, the spousal preference, does that extend outside of that particular demographic, or is that just for military spouses?
Well, because we focus on pipelines for veterans, that's already a preference that we have for military veterans. But for the spouses, for example, if those are more for remote positions, which recently they've gone down in numbers, but for remote positions, because we know that they need flexibility. Also, if they apply to the Military Spouse Career Accelerator program, and if there's no one available, like hiring manager wise to sponsor them, what we do is we try to match them up with open opportunities.
Excellent.
Not
These are excellent programs. Thank you for sharing them.
of course.
Joe, we can go ahead and kick it off to you.
Yeah, many similarities as well. We've been offering SkillBridge programs for quite a long time. Our Microsoft Software and Systems Academy, we've been offering since 2013, and that's a 17-week SkillBridge. It's open to active duty and veterans and fully funded by Microsoft. There's 3 learning paths. I'll just simplify it. It's software development, network administration, or cyber systems operations are the 3. We also recently launched the Spouse program, which is a technical program management learning path. And then we also, as the rest of the companies here, are involved with the Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellowship Program. We have a kind of robust cohort going on today, and a lot of internal volunteers from our ERG are helping support that and sponsoring and getting folks hired through that program. And then our most recent SkillBridge activity is with what we call the data center pathway. And these are roles which typically people might not think that we're hiring for, but they're called critical infrastructure roles. So it's about maintaining the operations, the 24/7 operations of a data center. And there's at least 12 data centers across the country that individuals can point to for hire, and they go through, it's either a 10 to 12 week program. And these critical infrastructure roles are folks that have background in like electrician, mechanic, power generation, HVAC, those sorts of opportunities. And that SkillBridge has a on-site as well. There's virtual delivery and then on-site at a data center to get some hands-on and see what it's, the day-to-day of what takes place at a data center. And we have a very active employee resource group, thousands of people involved, guest speakers. In fact, the whole company, all our ERG groups are very active, and the company has really, in the last, I'd say, several years, have stepped up and invested more, and there's a lot more visibility around our ERGs. The military ERG is a strong one, and it's the reason that we're getting a lot of folks hired into the company through our SkillBridge programs. Just from the support internally, senior leader support, and then folks that are sponsoring, like the fellows, for example. So it's great to see that growth over time of the internal military community kind of stepping up and giving back.
Perfect. And we did go over the Microsoft program, so we have that available on the CityU website. So we'll be sharing that after the call as well. And we also have one from Amazon, and hopefully we can get one more specific for Google and Boeing in the future. So more to come. We'll go ahead and move on to our next question. So I've heard some of the terminology already used. So veteran friendly now is evolving to military friendly. This is obviously to be inclusive of spouses and caretakers. I'll leave this open up for anybody who wants to start, but do you foresee organizations adapting to include them? And if not, how can they implement this within their initiatives?
We can do the same
Order.
order.
Yes,
Keep
yes,
going
we
in
can,
circles,
unless there's
yeah.
anybody wanted to
Okay.
jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I actually would make a bit of a bold statement that if folks are not already doing this, they're behind on the trend. Angela, you'll talk to Boeing, but we switched that over, what, 6 years ago in terms of referring to military connected. And I think you'll see that pretty consistently with larger organizations. Google's the same. Because really, I mean, being in the military is a family sport. And you really can't serve without the family, and we have to recognize that. And we know with military spouses, for instance, over 20% of them are unemployed, over 50% report being underemployed. And so it's a chronic issue when we look at their rates of unemployment that are 5 times the rates of the national average. And so companies really have been able to step up, and in many ways they've been able to be ahead of federal policy, which has also dramatically changed in the last 3 years with regard to licensing and certification to help with military spouses. At Google, we allow military spouses to move locations to allow their job to move with them. So we relax many of those location requirements for them, and also they're full participants in all of our communities. We also know female veterans tend to also be military spouses, so these groups are not singular, right? Oftentimes there are identities that are joint. And we have specific subsections of our resource group that allows for military spouses to connect and learn from each other as well. So we're fully inclusive in what we do at Google. And I really challenge everyone to think that way also about other programs, because it's really important to acknowledge that everyone has made a sacrifice in serving.
Excellent point. And I'd like to mention that when I was at T-Mobile, they had a program that was called a returnship. It wasn't exclusive to military members, but it was exclusive to those who were taking care of a family member. So in that case, if they were taking care of a husband or wife that was injured, it was an opportunity for them to get back into the workforce and get the skills that they need. So I don't know if any of these organizations have something similar to that, specifically towards the caretakers. I know spouses tends to be caretakers, but that's not always the case. Is there anything that is similar to that program?
Boeing has a program for caregiving, like a wellness program or a benefit where if they are taking care of a military or of a family member, and they're the primary caregiver, they get an allowance of or a percentage of the cost covered by Boeing. I don't have the specifics with me, but I can give you that later. But yeah, there is a caregiver program or benefit that we have available at Boeing.
And that's not just towards the military community, that's a general benefit.
It is a general benefit, but veterans obviously can utilize it.
Excellent. Did anybody else have anything else to add?
I mean, I'll just agree that, this is something that's been part of our strategy and our policies as long as I can remember. I joined in 2016 and it existed. We have a policy. I'm sure it's not a surprise to anybody, but Amazon instituted a 5-day return to office policy on January 1st, and military spouses are exempt from that policy as long as they are married to an active duty service member. So that's our way of, again, acknowledging their service, their value, but also the fact that they have no choice in where they can live. So we want them to have a portable career that they can take everywhere with them. But above and beyond that, nothing in addition to what everyone else has said. Spouses have been a focus of ours from the beginning and are included in all of our programs.
Joe, I see you come
Yeah,
off
just
mute.
as an addition, I mean, even the terminology, people are saying they've been saying it for several years, kind of a military ready. There's even some folks out there that say military thriving. It's kind of another phrase that somebody has been using. But yeah, it's this is our, I mentioned a spouse program we have. This is our second iteration. We did a spouse program several years ago, kind of sundowned it, and then we came back, went kind of back to the drawing board and came up with a different learning path that we thought would be very portable and mobile for the spouse, and could be 100% remote. So we're in the second cohort of that, and things are going well. So yeah,
Um,
I agree with everybody else.
I want to add one thing that I wanted to mention for our Boeing employee engagement resource groups. Last year, Boeing added a military spouse network, and it is like a subdivision of our employee veteran employment group, but it's focused on military spouses so that they can meet, do activities, talk about their challenges, connect, find mentors, things of that nature. So that came about last year. I think one of the other things that we are doing to be military connected and military focused versus just veteran focused is the military spouse uh, fellowship with Hiring Our Heroes, the military spouse auxiliary program. I think that's a great way to also um, open up the opportunities for the military connected talent.
It's excellent to see that these organizations are evolving, and as Dr. Sabo had mentioned earlier, it takes a village, right? There's part of the family, that community. So it's great to see that. So we can move on to the next question, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. I would chime in and say I'm also so happy to hear about all of the networks and affinity groups, and that you all have things specifically for military spouses and caregivers now. Definitely struggled with some of that throughout my husband's long career as we made all our moves throughout the country and the world. For the next question, just kind of tying into some of those things like resource groups, what role does organizational culture play in the successful integration of veterans into civilian workplaces? And how can companies create environments that foster veteran inclusion and career growth?
Sure. Well, we'll hop in the same order and then others can provide much greater insights than I share. Uh, so I mean, I think from a basic level, organizational culture is so critical because when you leave the military, you're leaving one very defined and strong culture, as we would say, and you're shifting to a different culture, whatever it is at the company you're going to. Some companies have stronger cultures, other companies have weaker cultures in terms of the norms, expectations, and behaviors that you see play out at work. And it's really important to be a student of that culture when you enter into a new environment, whether that's on the corporate side, whether that's just in terms of any world you're entering into. And the military and leaving the military is no different. So certainly some cultures are going to be more military friendly in that way because they're going to see more one-to-one or similarity in terms of alignment. Or they may have like a really, really large veteran population that allows folks to kind of find themselves and build that cohesion day one in terms of finding some other people they can lean on, trust, and just ask the silly questions of, right? There's some like really basic questions that you go in and you ask and you're like, that's weird. Is that weird though? I don't know if I should ask about that, right? Just having someone trusted to ask is really critical as you're shifting cultures and making that change. But at the end of the day, certain cultures are just going to be friendlier to others. I don't think there's no good or bad here. You also just have to find where you fit. And that requires asking lots of questions, networking, getting to know people, and being open-minded to it, right? And also knowing the military culture you're leaving and some of the quirks that come with that too. How can companies create environments that foster veteran inclusion? Resource groups are quite critical for this, but I've always said this, an employee resource group is also not your strategy. That should be a component of a robust strategy, and you've heard a lot of pieces of that already today, of all the other pieces that go into a much larger strategic plan and strategy around your military connected. But making sure also that people who are not familiar with the military gain enough familiarity to be supportive of the military or former military members or support group of military members in their careers, like right, understanding the challenges a military spouse faced with each PCS and having to reset up life. Just understanding those challenges and some of the nuances of it can go a long way. It doesn't mean you have to be fully fluent in it, right? But you can appreciate some of it and be open to also learning. So I think that just openness and curiosity goes both ways for people as they adjust and grow. But I would also say that applies to anybody in the world, not just the military.
Excellent. Well said. And there is one piece I would like to highlight. Robin had mentioned it earlier, is a mentorship program. And I think that plays a large part of the culture of either helping military members adapt into the organizational culture. Robin, I don't know if you can share any insights on that mentorship program, and if that's other veterans within the organization, or is that a mixed match, and how that plays into the organizational culture.
Yeah, well, sort of like Dr. Sabo was mentioning, Amazon's leadership principles, if you look at them, it's almost like we took them from like the Army values or something. And so, and our leadership principles are super ingrained in every aspect of everything we do. It's how we make decisions, it's how we interview people, it's how we promote people, it's how you're evaluated as an employee. So I think quite often military feel, you know, drawn to those leadership principles. And so that's a good foundation. However, there are a lot, we pride ourselves in being ambiguous and misunderstood. And so we did develop the pretty robust first year program. It's called the Military Ambassador Program, which is a combination of that content I described. So every month there's a course that addresses a topic, and then you're assigned to a mentor, matched to a mentor. Those are volunteers that are military veterans or spouses across the company who spend that year with you. So the mentee goes to the course, then they have a conversation with the mentor. And of course, that's a resource throughout their first year. And quite often they develop a friendship that keeps going after that. Sort of as Dr. Sabo mentioned, we also have curriculum for hiring managers, business leaders, recruiters, sourcers to just, help them understand the military community and um, like how to support them effectively if they're the manager, or how to understand their background if they're a recruiter or a sourcer. We're trying to meet them halfway, right? I was the transition manager, so we're doing a lot of work up front to try to teach them to translate and understand corporate culture, but we're trying to do our part to meet them halfway by educating the business and the hiring managers so that when they do join, they feel like they have the knowledge and resources to support their employee to be successful. And then the final thing I'll say is we have a global military affairs team. Their sole focus is focusing on the data around retention of the military veteran and spouse community. And so they're always looking at trends, and if they see certain trends in certain teams or at certain levels or what you have, whatever you have, they then step in and either build additional curriculum or engage with that leadership team to see if they can do something to intervene or make that situation better for both the business and the employee. So those are some things I would say that we do.
Well, I think that's a fantastic strategy. It's not just hiring veterans, but also keeping them. So that retention is very essential, but part of the overall strategy. So thank you for sharing that, Angela.
Yes, so there are some key aspects that our organization culture does to have an impact on veteran integration. We make sure that our hiring managers have an understanding of the military skills and how they work. So we have some training pathways for managers to understand how to best communicate and work with veterans. We have inclusive and supportive work environments, and that includes some of our employee resource groups, mentorship programs, and then a structure onboarding for veterans. I think that is a great way to foster veteran inclusion and career growth because veterans can meet each other at these orientations. Something that we want to implement, and that was just mentioned that I think is a great idea, is that assigning a mentor for like their first year so that they can have someone available, like a battle buddy available to support them on like, oh, I don't know how to get access to this benefit, or how can I, advance in development? How can I find a mentorship program? Any questions that they may have, they have that battle buddy to support them and help them access that information without having to look around HR and going all around to look for those things. Obviously, we have our veteran hiring initiatives. We have our skill bridge programs and apprenticeships. or upskilling. And then I think development and career growth are very important. So having specific opportunities available, whether it is through their performance and career plan with their hiring managers, which is part of the hiring manager training, or just different initiatives or opportunities that come up throughout the year so that they know that that's available. We do have veteran upskilling. So, and we have our Learning Together program where they have access to tons of courses and training within the skills that they work in, where they can develop themselves as well. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I'll start from the Microsoft. Yeah, so we have a really robust mentoring program as well. So we've had a mentor program for MSSA all the way back to the beginning. So each cohort, we have about 4 to 5 mentors. Usually one of those, or maybe 2, are a technical mentor, so they're familiar or they work in the type of curriculum or learning that they have in that cohort. So each of the SkillBridge programs across the board have mentors, and then as people get hired, depending on where you are in the business, there's mentors. We have an interesting, kind of a neat thing on Teams as well. On Monday mornings, you get what's called an icebreaker, and it's aligned to your ERG. So you get this icebreaker introduction to somebody else in the business, and you can send them a note, you can schedule a call, you can say hello, however you want to engage with this person. So that has kind of a way to bring people together and welcome people to the company if they're relatively new. And organizationally, I've been at the company over 14 years now, and just to see the growth of the military community internally and what they're doing. And I always recommend, like, for those that are starting programs or want to continue the programs, is having senior leaders invested in it is so important, to have those sponsors and leaders that are, there for you and providing guidance and spreading the word internally. I mean, we're a big company. We always meet people and they're like, what are we doing in the military? They don't know what's going, they don't necessarily know about all the programs. So our goal is always to just keep spreading the word internally and to bring more people on board. A lot of our mentors also are not prior military. These are just people who want to give back and are interested in supporting the community. So it's always great to see that. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
And I'd also like to mention, it wasn't explicitly mentioned, but throughout the team here there's affinity groups, there's networking groups, so that also builds into the organization's culture of being military inclusive as well. So folks, we will open up for Q&A. So if you have any questions for the panelists, please go ahead and put them in. We do want to provide you an opportunity to ask questions as well and guide the discussion. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next question. How can organizations maximize being a military-friendly organization? So what is the tangible, or what would you say is the tangible result of hiring a military community? Why do it? What is that benefit?
Sure. I've built so many decks on like the ROI of veteran hiring. And there's the generic ROI you can give around, we know veterans, once they're in position based upon research, promote faster than their peers. They tend to be more committed once they find a job that fits. They tend to, if they reach a CEO status, stay enroll for 2+ years longer on average than other CEOs. There's like all these great benefits. We also know veterans coming out of the military, the occupations in the military are 80% of the occupations you see on the civilian side. So there's great job fit when you know how to fit it. But of course, that requires some understanding basically of how skills fit together and moving past words at times. So I think how to become military friendly really means helping people find that fit, like helping them bridge over. And I think Robin and Joe and Angela have all mentioned like such fantastic ways. All of our companies are doing things like that through mentorship, through leader endorsement, through role modeling, right, across talent pipelines. So ensuring you're giving people the chance to show up strongly during hiring that may need a little bit of coaching. So those are like the key ways, right, organizations can be military friendly. And the ROI for them, it is all of these things of getting this fantastic individual who is coming from this incredible experience that allows them to have been able to learn and grow at such a rapid pace. But I would also say for companies, you need to make sure it actually fits with your intent too. Saying that you're going to be veteran friendly and then like not actually being friendly is also a miss. And so I always make sure people are aligning what is your actual need with what is the need that is being served by this population, and make sure you're honest in that, because I've also seen organizations chase military, if you will, and then they're not able to follow through and they don't see the retention gains that they really want to see, because the goal is always retention. And so I think if you're looking to benefit the community, if you focus on retention, you focus on enabling folks to feel supported and be at their best, and you're always going to have a winning strategy.
So I don't have too much to add to that because that was very comprehensive. We do the same thing, of course. But the only other thing I'd potentially add is, like, for example, we focus very heavily on new college grads as a source of talent for, especially for software development engineering. And what we've been able to demonstrate is that if you can hire a person who's left the military and gone back to school, whereas your traditional new college grad is, going to be younger and isn't going to have any other experience outside of college, you're just getting all that leadership and that experience and that maturity that you might not get. And it's just a great way to bring that diversity of experience and thought to the team when we've got such a reliance on student programs to fill all of our software development roles. And so we've been able to convince them to set aside roles for the military community specifically, to just, and again, encourage them to see the value that the veteran community brings. But other than that, Dr. Sabo basically covered everything. So well done.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick, I think the most for MSSA, there's no prerequisite, like you don't have to be an IT person to get into the program. And I think some of what we kind of are, the things that we like to tout are the truck driver to the software developer, the person that didn't really think of it, but they have the aptitude, they did the prerequisites, they worked hard, and they got a great role. So we have plenty of stories like that are just great stories to tell. And I think that kind of shows how there's opportunity in the industry if you're interested and committed. And back to kind of the ROI of this, the ROI is a talented pool of great candidates. So it's not any more than just it's great talent. So I mean, I know that it's military and all the great things that may come with that, but you don't really have to oversell the ROI, I think, in the long run, because you're just bringing in great talent that brings in a different perspectives and different experiences in a big company like all our companies, there's different cultures across the company. I mean, our sales force at Microsoft's not like the software development teams. They're different culturally, and people find their fit. Sometimes they move around. So there's a lot of different areas that you can find the right fit for yourself.
Excellent. It practically sells itself, right? Sorry, Angela, were you going to say something?
I was just gonna say, I mean, I don't have much to add to that, except, I mean, we focus on strengthening our veteran and hiring retention programs, and we have a quarterly manager HR and GTA training, which is called Value of a Veteran Campaign, and then we just talk about the value of the veteran, but obviously as a company, we leverage the tax incentives. We're a defense government contractor, so we focus on our defense programs like Phantom Works and our air dominance site where, you know, all these military backgrounds can be really leveraged into the roles that are available there and the critical needs that are there. And we work with those hiring managers to understand that and leverage that veteran talent that's available coming into within those pipelines. That's all.
Well, excellent. I think we can go ahead and open it up for Q&A, and we do have a question. We can start with the order as well. So the question is, what advice do you have to help a transitioning service member assess and find a good cultural fit with a prospective company? And how do you identify the right team within a company?
Been going first. Does anyone else want to go first so you hear me talk less?
Go for it.
All right. Yeah, I think in terms of assessing cultural fit, I mean, like, you know, I work at Google, but I can also say Google it, like, look it up, look at what people are talking about in forums. Glassdoor is a good source of kind of core information across companies. There's a lot of other ones that are more specific to tech or defense or things like that when you're looking at job boards, but like, look at what people are talking about, look at the language the company uses. Robin, like you pointed out a great example, Amazon is so clear in its company values, like they are upfront and very clear for candidates when they apply. Google is similar, right? So like look at what those company values are and think about how that translates into who you are. And who you are is going to change the transition process, to be quite frank, because you're shifting your identity from that of the organization you worked in to one of your own. And so that's a pretty big shift as well. So I think you do the best you can, you talk to as many people as you can, and you make a decision with the information you have.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is I recommend going on LinkedIn and searching for anybody that has like a hashtag warriors at Amazon or something to that effect, because it's a good chance that they're military affiliated and they work at Amazon. And most of them, if not all, won't hesitate to connect and jump on a quick call or have a cup of coffee to just chat about their experience and, you know, give you that sort of behind the curtain look. Because to your point, Dr. Sabo, every company's got a very different culture and a very different environment. And the only way you really can figure that out is having those conversations, doing your homework, looking on those platforms. There's also like we have lots of YouTube videos that talk about a day in the life of a person in a different role, because there's so many different roles and we use strange names for them. So don't narrow your search to what you did in the military. Use those military skills translators to open up your eyes to things you might be a good fit for that you weren't even considering. And again, we might call it something strange that you wouldn't even know to search for. So um, there's lots of ways to research the culture and try to find that good fit. But talking to people who've done it and building out your network, you know, maybe leveraging LinkedIn is a good source to do that.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I say networking, finding people that work at the companies you're interested in, and connecting with them, whether it's on LinkedIn or if you go to an event, and do have a conversation. Request, if it's on LinkedIn, request an informational interview. Say, I'm a veteran. I see you're a veteran. Can we have a conversation about what it's like to work at that specific company? I think there's so much value in that. Join their workshops if they do veteran workshops like we do, where we talk about our benefits, our cultures. Many times they have employee guest speakers where they talk about we call it the Boeing story, right? And then they talk about how they transitioned, how they came to Boeing, what their challenges were, what was good, what was bad. So those are also available. I think most companies do similar workshops like that where they talk about um, uh, for targeting veterans, but talking about their benefits and tips on how to translate their skills. So I would encourage folks to do that, and that way they can determine if that company could be a fit for them or not.
Yeah, I'll just add, if you go to our website's military.microsoft.com, there's a whole area of blogs and videos of individuals who have gone through different programs and are at Microsoft currently. Also on Friday, we do have, on Mondays and Fridays, Internal volunteers, mentors open up a Teams link to anyone who wants to join it. So it's Mentorship Mondays, or Mentorship Live is on Friday. So we end up getting, I popped in last Friday, was about 30 people who came on and just asking questions of Microsoft. Usually 4 or 5 Microsoft employees who are there to just provide information on what they do, how they transitioned, tips, things that can maybe give some advice on how to pursue opportunities and what might be a great fit for something that they're looking for. And the folks are kind of divided up across different offices too. So
Excellent. So it seems like the theme that I got here is do your research and network, right? So LinkedIn is a great source to do that. And if you already don't know, LinkedIn offers 1 year free of LinkedIn Premium to veterans and I believe spouses as well. So utilize that benefit. If you're looking for a job, network, reach out to other veterans within these organizations and see how they like it and how, you know, how would it be a good fit for you. All right, so we have another question. During the introduction, several of you referred to military brats. Does this network extend to military children? So dependents, specifically military children.
Yes, for us, if you want to join, you can be military affiliated. You cannot be. You can be a supporter of the military, right? Like our resource groups are open to those who want to be part of the resource group, and I suspect that's probably the case for everybody. Similar to at Microsoft, we have kind of mini chat sessions. It's almost like veteran speed dating and military spouse speed dating on Fridays as well, where we set aside an hour and everyone can just join a call and we break off into random groups and you just meet new people. So we have lots of opportunities like that and everyone's invited to join. And I think just also through conversation, folks that have that common military background have common experiences. And there's always good ways to bond over that as well and find some commonality. So certainly all are welcome. Policies may not all extend in the same way. Just because from a HR perspective and documentation for some policies, like documentation is required. So if you're an active duty spouse, or maybe a retiree spouse, or you are a prior service or current service, obviously there's documentation to provide. It is a little bit harder to do that with dependents. So that would be a specific use case when that would be relevant. Perhaps or you're a dependent and a caregiver of a veteran, in which case you would fall under like a caregiver policy specifically.
Excellent. Robin, you came off mute.
Well, can I just say ditto? I mean,
That is
you're
a-
very good in answering a question, Dr. Sabo. Yeah, no, same is what she said. So, I did see one other question. I don't know if you saw it. It was above that question you just answered. Or you
Yes.
asked.
What opportunities are available through your affiliated partners? I'm not
Well, I
sure
have a
what.
question about what that means. So, I mean, I can talk about what opportunities exist at Amazon for the military community.
I don't
Like
know
I
if
mentioned,
the person who asked that maybe wants to put in some clarification. We did get one other question too. They were asking if they've used up their GI Bill benefits, does each company provide any educational reimbursements programs?
I like to say that we have an industry leading Learning Together program where we pay 100% of your education at any level, whether it's a certification, your associate's, bachelor's, and PhD. In There is a cap each year, but if you're going to school and working, you would never meet that cap of the amount per year. And also for engineering education degrees or anything related to STEM programs, Boeing covers everything, no questions asked. There's like additional incentives for you to pursue engineering education at Boeing.
And Angela, that's not just capped to the military community, right? That's not
No, that's available to all employees, and that actual benefit is available to you the first of the month of the after you start. So if you start March 30th, on the 1st of April, that benefit is available to you to enroll in school or get a certification or do whatever you need to do.
Well, I'll just say that's an amazing benefit. I've seen on the corporate level, the average tends to be 2,500. So that's
Yeah, I love it. It's an amazing benefit. It's top of the line.
Joe. If nothing else, I'll move on to the next question, unless you were going to add it to that. No? Okay. So we have another question that popped in. Actually disappeared. Michelle, I don't know if you can see it on your end.
They had asked if would getting recognized certifications prior to separation from the military be beneficial, or wait until the internship or skill bridge so that the certification is fresher.
I'll just, Robin, you're about to go, so yeah, I'll just say, I mean, having certifications are great. They're not prerequisites for our programs. You do take a LinkedIn learning course as a prerequisite. And it has its own little certificate, but it's not like a Microsoft, industry recognized certification. Yeah, I would definitely recommend if you're pursuing a particular company and they look for certifications, doing the foundational cert or whichever level that fits well for what your experience is a great thing to have on your resume, and it's a kind of way to get yourself to the front of the line. And when 100 resumes come in for an open role, how do you distinguish and separate yourself out from the others? And sometimes it could be that certification.
Yeah, I think I messed up and answered it by typing and it made it disappear. So sorry about that. But I'll say similar to Joe, I guess one thing at Amazon, one of our leadership principles is learn and be curious. And so as Joe kind of mentioned, if you go out of your way on your own time and effort to pursue an AWS certification, it just demonstrates that learn to be curious. And I kind of like to tell people, if you're going to go into the tech industry and you're not learning and curious, you're going to be irrelevant very quickly. So it's just great to show that you are focused on a given company and you're expressing interest in it. Just gives you exposure to our services, so you have some of that verbiage to use in your interview. It's not a prerequisite, like Joe said, but definitely doesn't hurt. And the other thing, the first one's free, and then you can use any of the credentialing online for other certs. What I like to tell people is, go get the cert, and that you might not be interested in that technology. That's a great way to find out while you still have time in the military, while you're exploring your options. But if it is something you're interested in, if you start early, you can maybe get up to a higher level cert and just get even that much more tools in your toolkit before you transition. So.
And I just want to add, so I have to drop here, but thank you very much, Marco and Michelle, for having me today. It's great to be on the panel with the rest of these folks here. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Joe Wallis, Wallis. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And good luck on all your pursuits. I'm going to actually another military community focused event on Mercer Island, so I have to get on the road here. So thank you very much, and everybody have a great rest of the evening.
Joe, thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks.
I think we have room for one more question here. We got a minute left. So your business partners, MSAs, brought in companies in their supply chain to hire candidates transitioning the workforce. Do companies supporting Boeing have a similar ecosystem? Angela, I think that one is geared towards you.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. Do companies supporting Boeing have a similar ecosystem? And this is referencing the MSSA that has brought in companies into their supply chain to hire candidates.
Okay. Our subsidiaries do follow and enjoy all of the benefits that Boeing offers, and they do follow our hiring process, our hiring initiatives, and our policies. As far as like vendors and companies that we do business with, I would say some of them have similar policies or initiatives or programs for veterans, but I can't say that all of them do. I don't know if the question is like, do we only do business and with companies that we partner up that have military initiatives? I don't know if that's a criteria, but that's a great idea. I would say it wouldn't hurt to look into that. Was that the question? Does that answer the question? I'm not sure if it did.
If I
I-
were to guess, I think it's so the Microsoft Software and System Academy, we hire from MSSA. So they've built the educational platform and they've got lots of people in their ecosystem that interact with the candidates. I think that they were asking for Boeing's, if Boeing has a training program or another sort of program, if you've got like
Oh, okay.
you've got an ecosystem where there's other companies that are considering those candidates as well. I think that's what they're asking because that's how MSSA is structured.
No, not that I'm aware of. I don't, and that's a great question. I don't think we have other companies that we partner up with that would consider, except for our subsidiaries that we have under our enterprise. But other than that, no.
Angela, is Boeing still working with Onward to Opportunity for their 3 skill pathways that we're leading to certification for I think mechanics, cyber, and I forget which, aerospace and defense generally?
For manufacturing, not that I don't think we're doing that. The partnerships we have tier 1 and tier 2 transition assistance programs. As far as we have the ROTC, we have SkillBridge, we have partnerships with Hiring Our Heroes. But we don't have anything else right now.
I would, so, Google has Grow with Google as well. We have a number of certifications within that. Similar to Amazon and what Robin mentioned, like we will, if you're maybe a software engineer or relevant skill set, you might see someone hired out of the MSA program. So I think these programs can cross in terms of the organizations you feed into. You just have to be smart in terms of the certifications you get to ensure they fit the actual role and expectations on the civilian side. What is the applicable certification on the military side is not necessarily the applicable industry standard certification on the civilian side. So programs like Onward to Opportunity are a really great place to start. They help fund some of those and will cover cost. And I think almost all of our organizations actually have at one point been a funder of that in terms of setting up skill credential programs. So there are a lot of opportunities similar to MSSA. Of course, that one was one of the first, which kind of took the stage in terms of what that would look like. But there are a lot of opportunities to upskill, get your credentials before you get out so you can hit the ground running when you are ready for that job.
Excellent. And they did comment, Robin, your interpretation was correct. Well, folks, we are at time. Naturally, we can keep going and going, but I do want to thank everybody, Joe, Robin, Dr. Sabo, Angela, for joining us in our session today. I hope that we can have another opportunity in the future. This has been very informative. So thank you again, and everybody who's supported this, Michelle and Brittany. So again, thank you. Can't thank you enough for supporting the military community. And on behalf of City University, we're glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.